You're tuned into the Changing Winds podcast, where bloodlines speak, bones remember, and no stories ask for permission to be told. I'm Ilanchi Mahli. Pull up a chair or keep walking. I don't give a damn. You're tuned into the Changing Winds podcast, where bloodlines speak, bones remember, and no stories ask for permission to be told. I'm Ilanchi Mahli. Pull up a chair or keep walking. I don't give a damn. You're tuned into the Changing Winds podcast, where bloodlines speak, bones remember, and no stories ask for permission to be told. I'm Ilanchi Mahli. Pull up a chair or keep walking. I don't give a damn. You're tuned into the Changing Winds podcast, where bloodlines speak, bones remember, and no stories ask for permission to be told. I'm Ilanchi Mahli. Pull up a chair or keep walking. I don't give a damn. Shout my everyone. Uh, Came on a little early, and one second, please. Hey guys, sorry. I was looking for my mic. Um, so this is going to be a kind of a poem that I wrote. And it's called. This is the poem that I wrote, and it dropped yesterday. Um, I'm sorry, I'm kind of a little bit out of it. I was on Facebook for about 4 or 5 hours doing live there. And so I'm kind of a little bit winded. I was outside doing some things. And it's a little early. I started about 3 or 4 minutes early because I had to get some stuff done. But the reasoning for this poem, is because I really feel that America has done some really crappy things, not just for Native Americans, but I'm not going to say that it's something that I feel very strongly about. And I named this poem, "The Empire Falls, the People Rise, No Masters and No Lords." And I'm going to read this to you. I've kind of gotten in the habit of reading why I'm doing these poems. And then I've got some more information that I want to share with you guys. Because later on, I'm going to have to look at my schedule on here. Let's see. Let me go ahead and read this poem, and then I will talk a little bit. Y'all know the routine if you've been here before, or however. And guys, normally I try to look at the camera when I do these, because I'm getting eye contact with you guys. And the way I have my monitor set up, it's over catty corner, and then I have two monitors, and I have one monitor over here. So if you see me and I'm not looking at you, I'm sorry. I try to but when I'm talking, when I look away, especially as I'm talking through things, I'm going through a checklist, and I really don't like scripts, so I kind of just put a broad. But when it comes to me reading my poems, I have a hard copy of them, and then I have a copy uh, on my screen. And sometimes I read it paper, sometimes or old school. Sometimes some people are telling me to put a teleprompter on my phone. I That's just not my style. When I was in theater, if I because we toyed with voiceovers and stuff like that, and I was always reading, and there was no kind of. That's why I do the cartoon style uh, uh, when I do my poems, because of voiceover, and I'm not, like I explained on Facebook today. I am dyslexic of sometimes I will skip over words or read right to left, but I also will go up and down, and so sometimes my words and stuff get mixed up. My issue with my speech, have no teeth, so and then it's just what it is. So you know, that's that's another thing. But anyway, I wanted to read this to y'all, and so I'm going to. And the title again is "The Empire Falls, the People Rise, No Masters and No Lords." I came with a cross not to save, but to brand, carving kingdom into stolen land. They burned our tongues, broke our bones, and built their churches on unmarked stones. They tell me this land is theirs to divide, that laws and borders make them justified. But their hands drip red, and their prayers are hollow, preaching salvation while demanding we follow. They don't serve God, they serve a throne, drunk on power, breaking every oath. He kneels to no one but the mirror. He feeds and plays as a prophet while planting those seeds of control, greed, of a world on its knees. They scream about freedom, but lock every gate, calling it justice. No, I call it hate. They brandish their Bibles like shackles and chains, but I won't be their slave, won't bow in their name. I am not theirs to command. I do not kneel, I do not serve. This earth was never theirs to claim, and their empire will burn by the weight of their words. Borders mean nothing, their gods are a lie. I walk where I please. No chains, no kings, and no sky too high. And that's how I feel. People have said in the last few years that they don't agree with what's going on. Well, here's the thing. We are not meant to be in a cage. I brought this up on my last live stream, and I did this um, because we're given. I'm just looking over my notes, and I'm sorry, guys. Um, Religion and politics have ripped everybody apart. It is 2025. We've come a long way in 50,000 years. But the last 100 years, I I honestly believe it's time to get rid of governments and borders. I'm not saying there shouldn't be order and law and things like that. And I've mentioned this before. We all live on the same damn rock. And I'm an anarchist when it comes to this. If you're not doing anything to harm your others, and this goes, if you're harming yourself, you're harming yourself. And it crosses a line. It's a very thin line. And I'm talking very thin. Between lawlessness and overboard with laws. I understand nationalities. I understand nations. I understand this. Native Americans, Native anything. We're human. We migrate. We we follow the herds. If there's not food somewhere, we go somewhere else. If we've depleted resources, meaning the farmlands, what do we do? I have 2 other episodes before. Hang on, let me. I think it's 2. Uh, but next week, I think it's next week. I'll have to look and I'll put it. I'll correct myself. Um, it's a 3-part series, and I'm not going to do a live on Tuesdays because the way I've set it up. After that's done, is I'm going to do a live follow up on that, and then I have a special birthday one that I'm doing. I turned 41 the 26th of May. And then I did a 22 chapter. I went and read the book of Revelation. I never read it through just never read it through. But I did this time. And sorry guys, I'm a little hot because I was outside, and anyway. But I read it. And I also did it in a style. I rewrote it the way I feel about it. And there's gonna be people that say they like it, some say they don't, some think I'm just crazy. But I will break it down after I finish it. Look, there's always going to be somebody that wants power and greed and all this other crap that goes along with it. Hi, love. Is my mic good? Can you hear me? I'm trying to wait for a response. Sorry, guys. But that's the thing. Nobody should have control over anybody. Okay, good. We are meant to be free animals. Take a horse, a cow, a donkey, a wild animal. There's no reason for fences. Why do we take ourselves and we put ourselves into a box, knowing we're going to try to get out of that gate? Why do we do that? Why do we do that with other animals? It shouldn't be that way. Now, I'll put a gate to keep animals from eating my food, but still, on that point, it's nature. There's always somebody that wants more than their fair share. And that's why sloth is it's really not a 10 commandment, really, but it is a commandment of being a glutton. You take what you need, and that's it. And that's the way I look at it. Now, I had to learn this the hard way. Uh, when you grow up, not knowing when your next meal is, when you get older, and you will devour everything. I've went through that. My brother still goes through that. He thinks food's going to run off. Another problem, especially here where I live, they say an ice storm's coming or we're getting bad weather. All the rich people will go to Walmart and buy all the toilet paper and all the water. Really? Really? They have no common sense. And that's why stores will jack up prices. Just like what happened during we put everything bad on the supply chain. People are running out of supplies. People are running out of insulin. I I had to beg for insulin. Some of my meds they couldn't get. I had to take a special kind of potassium. It was on back order. Steph will tell you this. I had a hard time finding my damn meds. And why? Well, when something happens like that. But the funny thing is, we have technology that can keep us from doing that. I've learned a lot. Used to I used to want to do shit on my own. But there's tools that I use daily that quite honestly has helped me. Uh, if any of y'all know me prior to, used to be pretty much in my shell. Uh, and I would not step on people's toes. My 20s I did, and then I kind of, my 30s, after I got diagnosed with all this stuff, I was playing the card of playing it safe. I kind of reverted back to pre-teenager years when I was a preteen. You didn't get the person you got right now. When Steph first met me, I was in my in my 20s. I was with Caden's mom. And Steph will tell you, I was a different person. I didn't give a crap what people thought, said, did, anything. Stacy started telling me, Dad, you need to change. So you need to stop being a butthole. Then my brother was like, I don't understand why you're so mad all the time. So I went to the doctor and I said, hey, I do have PTSD and all this other stuff, and give me something that'll help. So got on them and I stopped being a butthole. Well, then I left the hospital, and well, when I was working there, I didn't leave the I mean, I used to work at the hospital, and I came up off all my meds, but I still had that personality of I don't want to step on people's toes, so I didn't. And I've made a point. It seems like it's been forever ago, but it hasn't, because somebody's been in office not very long. But I told Steph, and I told Robert, and I told my kids, if somebody gets back in office, I don't give a crap anymore. I'm being me, like it or not. And that night, I made a choice, and I told Steph, I said, fuck it, I'm done. Because if everybody else can get away with it, then I can too. And I'm not doing it to be spiteful. I'm doing it because it seems like you have to put on a face. And even if you put on a face, look, I have a clean rap sheet. Now, people that I went to school with have an opinion over me. There's some that have a bad opinion of me because of what happened to me after we got out of school. Some people are like, he's a human. My kid's godfather, his name's Sonny. That's his nickname. I'm not going to give his real name. But he comes over, he brings Sissy home from school, and me and him are closer than we ever been but in school. And I love the man. I love him. And he knows it. And he knows the pain that I went through. And I've made it a goal of mine. My 30-year reunion is 2033. I didn't go to my 20. I went to my 10. I didn't go to my 20. And I said, you know what? All those people that have told me have turned their back on me because of the crap that I had to go through. The ones that stabbed me in the back. I'm going to be the bigger person. I'm going to take all that in me and turn it into something that, wow. I'm going to make my kids proud of me again. Caden, that one right there, that's over my shoulder. He turned 16 this year, and I'm so damn proud of all my kids. But he has a sister that thinks of me as just slap me underneath the bed and act like I don't exist. And it's pretty crappy. But you know what? I'm going to come out and I'm going to do everything that I used to do. People tell me you can't fucking do it. There's no way. Trust me. There's a reason why my native name is Ilanchi Mahli. And it means changing winds. And I'd be damned if somebody's gonna. I'm a tornado right now, and I don't really. If you like me, you like me. If you don't, sorry. You know. But this whole let's put everything in a cage. I put out a a poem a few weeks ago talking about bullying. Stand up to them. Stand up to them. You may look like a bully when a bully's bullying you. Well, oh well. A bully's not going to stop bullying you unless you put your foot down. And this may go against YouTube's bull crap, and I really don't care. But you have to put it. Eventually, you have to put your feet down, or you're gonna sink. You're say you're out floating in the middle of the ocean. You just went overboard. You're not going to be able to float by yourself long. You either find your way to shore, find your way to another boat, or figure out a way to survive until you get or if you don't, you wind up sinking to the bottom of the ocean. I'm not going to say that it's easy. It's not. It's not easy. It's not easy to make the right call. It's not easy to go against what everybody else has told you to do. Sorry, I was making sure my mic was still hot. We need to stop with these borders and these imaginary lines, and we're not meant to be in cages. We're meant to explore and understand. And humans, the reason why we are humans and the reason that we're almost on every continent. And there's people wanting to go to outer space, which the 22 chapters thing, I think that one's going to hit a little bit in somebody's rear view mirror. Is going to smack them right in the butt. But we're not meant to be in a border. If you can't figure out what's right and what's wrong, then you haven't evolved anything. I used to be a really big wrestling fan, and now I'm kind of getting back into it. And a lot of these CEOs and stuff, they're finally realizing they're a little bit older than my generation and my generation that's running these companies now. I'm not afraid to fail. I want to quote somebody I didn't really know much about. Mr. Beast. And the way he looks at things, he's younger than me, but he's like, yeah, I lost X amount of, he lost a lot of money on this last. He's like, oh well, learn, live, learn. Yeah, I don't have that luxury right now. But there's a lot of people, including my brother, including my wife, including my kids, including some of my very close friends that like Sonny, and my family that I have met throughout the years of doing ancestry and stuff. And I've told them, hey, let me and I will take care of you. You just hold on. And I'm going to make my promises and I'm going to keep them because a lot of them are struggling. And part of that's what keeps me going. But we need to understand too. Yeah, money's great. If I had it, if I had it right now, I would be taking care of a lot of people that I know that need it. But I also understand, and I've just here recently, you have to start thinking smarter. Sometimes Sometimes people dream and nothing ever happens. Sometimes people dream and right in the middle of the dream goes away. But there's other people, like myself, was afraid of the dreams coming true. Because you always hear, oh, they were living life and they just changed and I did fear that for the longest time. But I know I'm gonna grow old and be an old man and I just know. Even though I got health issues that but I have to. Mom's gone, my aunt, all the people that I love. Well, my close family, like my blood. I have one person left that's close to me. That's my aunt's son, my pops. I plan on taking care of him too. He don't know it, but I do. I plan on taking care of him because he took care of me. But you know, I don't I don't agree with this whole borders and crap. We all deserve better. And putting yourself in a cage is not the answer. It's not the answer. You put a wild animal in just like what happens in prison. There's some people that come out and they're a better man. Sometimes putting them in prison did worse good than anything. I'll say this because this is somebody that I kind of respect a lot. Lex Luger is at the top of his game. Top of his game. Woke up one morning and couldn't move. No reasoning why. Nothing. And where he found God or Jesus, which is fine. And the way he talks, walks the walk. Do I agree with his I agree with his thinking and his clarity. He's following Christ. BDP. They're great Christian men. They're Christian. That doesn't mean I'm gonna cut. They're good people. They've done what they said they would do, and you know that's fine. I have no problem with that. And I'm pretty sure if I knew them, there's some little things that I would probably call them out on. And it doesn't. It's not about the religion. It's about the person that's trying their hardest to do what they believe is right. Sorry, guys. My leg is a going, and a lot of my energy is going. If you see I'm kind of my adrenaline's going. But you you can't let this can't you just I don't understand when you have to make choices, and they throw a border, or you can't do this because you're look. Native Americans should have kicked our butts out of this country. For some reason, my family mated with Native Americans, and I'm a hell of a warrior. I can tell you that. And sometimes I don't feel like it. Sometimes I don't feel like a warrior. But within the last 6 months, this old warrior sense of me, the one where I didn't care. I did care. I did care. But I had some reserved power. And that, I feel like that new energy, the old energy that used to be me, is coming back. Kind of like the phoenix. I'm rising from the ashes. A lot of people are fixing to see that headband over my shoulder. Yeah, I'm fixing to put it on. I'm fixing to go out in public with it on. And it's going to piss off a lot of people, and a lot of people are going to say other things. I don't care. That's who I am. That's who I am. A lot of people feel they're entitled. I don't feel like I'm entitled. I'm not entitled to anything. I'm entitled to food, water, shelter, and air. The rest of it, it's just a bonus. It's just a bonus. So when you go back and watch that poem, you go back and watch this YouTube channel, remember, you're not meant to be locked up in a cage. Because even that animal that's locked up in that cage will eventually come and get out. And all hell will break loose when that animal gets out. Take that with what you will. Take that, even the mundane animal, the peaceful one. It gets to a point, even a sheep will attack you when they've had enough. Ilanchi out. See y'all next week. Ilanchi Mahli here. I need a favor. Look, can you like it, dislike it, share it, or pretend you didn't see it? Just don't scroll in silence. Hit the subscribe, drop a comment, 7 words minimal to make them count. Oh, and if you get the taste, grab some merch. Links will be in the description. Support the story. Ilanchi Mahli here. I need a favor. Look, can you like it, dislike it, share it, or pretend you didn't see it? Just don't scroll in silence. Hit the subscribe, drop a comment, 7 words minimal to make them count. Oh, and if you get the taste, grab some merch. Links will be in the description. Support the story. Ilanchi Mahli here. I need